Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Just a quick question. How many of you heard of the announcement that was made yesterday by the UNDP and the Goodwill Ambassador and actor Nikolai Coster-Waldau about Don't Choose Extinction? Can I see a show of hands? Who heard of that? Nobody? Their intent is to stop the fossil fuel subsidies because they're amounting to $420 billion a year, and they want to take that money to do something else with it. So welcome to the Autotech stage, and thank you for joining us today. We will focus on autonomous vehicles, connected cars, and the Internet of Things. Autotech connects thousands of leading companies, developers, engineers, experts, and hobbyists. I'm Britta Muzyk-Tikovsky, and the CEO of Capscoville and editor-in-chief at ChiliPix. I'll be your host for today. So how many of you are working in an industry that is related to auto tech? A few, okay. Then you might have heard of these big news. They've been in the headline. Obviously, the first one being Hertz to order 100,000 Teslas with an option to order another 100,000. Amazon's self-driving cars will hit the streets in Seattle. They're being currently tested. GM is looking into self-driving cars. Ford has announced to invest a huge amount into new plans to build electric vehicles. VCs are finding an interest into the infrastructure. BlackRock has announced to invest $500 million into Ionity, the infrastructure charging company. And Volkswagen says that their cars, 70% of their cars, will be electric by 2030. So the major trends that we see in automotive are autonomous, sustainable, shared mobility, and multimodal mobility. To me, mobility is a whole cosmos. So it's not just a vehicle with a few wheels or with wings. It's a whole cosmos that you can view from different angles. And besides the big news that we see in the headlines, there's so many amazing developments out there that can help us build more sustainable solutions in the future that we need to secure our future and that of the next generations. And why can they help us? Because most of the times, innovation stems from combining different ideas together, transferring one idea from one industry into the other, or complementing a solution that you're working on with an idea or a solution that already exists. And in order to give these amazing developments that are out there in the world and that don't make it to the headlines, to give them a stage, I've started a knowledge base with a team where we curate information on topics, on innovation, emerging trends, and bleeding-edge research. We developed a special kind of storytelling for that, so that will read us aloud to keep an open mind while getting the facts, the most important facts of a topic in 1 minute reading time. And the purpose that we have with this knowledge base is to support companies and the creative minds like you in your ideation process to consider some of the solutions that are out there that can help to build more sustainable products, sustainable solutions that will help us all. And the second purpose is to drive diversity, inclusion, and ethics in technology. So we're covering many different topics across industries. We're covering life science, food, art, design, underlying technologies, materials, and also mobility. So for today, I would like to share a few of these amazing developments that some of you might not have heard about. For example, a startup in Germany has built a car concept that consists of two things. One is two chassis that are either for the road or off-road, and then for the body, you could choose between 10 different variations, and they're interchangeable. That means that one day, if you have more than of these bodies, that one day you can drive a convertible, and the next day you can decide to drive a truck. Students from Denmark have developed a camper mobile that is self-sustainable. It's driven electric, it has an extended range of about 700 kilometers, and it's solely powered by the sun. If we look at air travel, there's a new airplane design out that's different from how airplanes are built today because the engines are mounted in the back. The airplane has 3 wings, and the fuel is put on top of the fuselage. That is also, the fuselage is created out of compound materials instead of metal shields. That makes the airplane lighter, and they predict they could save 70% of fuels during air travel. What air travel is also looking at to reduce CO2 emissions is something called SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuels. And there's research going into how food waste can help, because during the decaying process of food waste, paraffins are created, and paraffins are suitable to be used within fuels. One of my absolute favorites is looking at nature for inspiration, because it has such a humongous amount of things that we can learn from it. And butterflies have an amazing ability, which is they can take off in an instant in case there's a danger. So this has puzzled researchers for about 50 years, and now, with the help of high-speed cameras and a wind tunnel, they were able to uncover the secret of butterflies. Butterflies, when they take off, they cup their wings to collect air, and then they clap the wings together, which causes the air to flow outside at the back, and this gives them the fast acceleration to take off. Taken after this observation from the butterflies, they have developed now flexible mechanical wings for airplanes, and they are said to be 22 to 28% more efficient than mechanical wings. Looking at the maritime market, there's a startup in Costa Rica developing a schooner driven with electric energy and powered by the sun. There's a company in France developing a cargo vessel that will be solely driven by wind power. Both ships are aimed at transporting organic goods only. And if we look at farming, there's a startup in the US who developed an autonomous vehicle with an artificial intelligence on site, which can differentiate between crops and weeds. So as it goes autonomously through the farming grounds, it spots weeds and then uses a laser to single that weed out, and all the crops are saved. If we look at components that can be used, you can see that I'm a big fan of bicycles. If we ride a bicycle in the city through the rush hour, we might be faster and beat the traffic, but we're still exposed to exhaust gases. So a designer developed an air filter for the front wheel, which filters the air while we go. And there's many more thoughts out there, looking at materials that can help themselves. Students in France using used chewing gums to build skateboard wheels. Tamarind shells from Asia being used for nanosheets in supercapacitors to drive electric vehicles. And infrastructure, we have a street light that was taken after a blooming flower and waving grass that only lights up when a person is present, and its head follows that person as it walks by, and then it turns off the light. So we're reducing light pollution that we have. And of course, there's also apps, and one important thing for mobility to me is to include people with limited abilities, might be limited vision or limited mobility as such, and there's startups just doing this. If you're interested in learning more of this, feel free to visit our online knowledge base. It's for free. You can also subscribe to the newsletter. As I said, the purpose is to support you in creating more sustainable solutions. So, with technology playing such a major part in the future, I would also like to ask all of us to look at solutions and answer the question, how does this solution, how does this technology that we use make our world better? So today we're covering autonomous vehicles, connected cars, and IoT. And this is a lot to cover, so please let me introduce our first speaker to this stage. He's the youngest founder in Europe of a $1 billion company. Please welcome on stage Caterina Dimoni from Reuters in conversation with Bolt founder and CEO Markus Willig as he discusses how the startup is building the European mobility super app. Please give them a warm welcome.